Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing well. This is actually week 5 of Bourbon with Karl, and this is episode 24 tonight. Last week we had a theme week, and we had big bourbon, and these were bourbons with lots of proof, over 110 proof, more than 55% alcohol. This week there's no theme. I'm just I guess there is a theme actually. We're looking at standards of the bourbon world. So these are the standards that a lot of people have on their shelf, or standards you'd find behind a bar. If you go to a restaurant or somewhere like that, these are the ones that you would typically find behind the bar. We are going to start episode 24 with pretty much a fan favorite of Basil Hayden. This is Basil Hayden. Basil Hayden's Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And this is a product of Beam Suntory, which is the parent company of Jim Beam, of course. Basil Hayden is now in its second decade of production, and it's a member of the Jim Beam premium line. We use the air quotes there, of small batch bourbons. This includes Knob Creek, which is one of my personal favorites, Booker's, which is also an excellent bourbon, and Baker's, which I've not had enough of to really tell if I like it or not. This is also the lowest proof entry in that line. It comes in at a very easy drinking 80 proof. That's 40% alcohol by volume. So very light 80 proof bourbon. Beam originally introduced this bourbon kind of as its premium gateway spirit that they marketed toward new bourbon drinkers. Today, they're still doing that. They're really tailoring their marketing campaign for Basil Hayden to the millennial market, yippee, and the recent surge in bourbon cocktails. This is still a staple of the bourbon world and will continue to be so. They've introduced several other products in the Basil Hayden line. Includes a dark rye whiskey, a Caribbean rum cask finished version, as well as a 10-year version. There might be another one out there. I can't quite remember. Basil Hayden was a real person. He was a farmer, moved from Virginia into Kentucky in the late 1700s, and he decided that he would make bourbon out of things that he had on hand instead of going out and getting a product. He did use corn, of course. That's what gives it its sweetness, but makes it a bourbon. But he also had a lot of rye on hand. He had brought this with him from Maryland. The rye was used, and today Basil Hayden bourbon is considered a high rye. It's got 27% rye in its mash bill, so this is a high rye bourbon. It's got 63% corn. It's 10% malted barley. There's no age statement, but it used to have 8 years on the label. Today it does not have that. It's rumored to still be the same. But if they're taking the age statement off the label, you can pretty well bet they're no longer aging it for 8 years. It's probably something less than that. So let's go ahead and take a look at Basil Hayden here. In the glass, it's a very light amber. Very light amber. Originally, I was going to say medium, but out here in the daylight, it looks more light to me than anything else. I don't know if y'all can see it very well. Surprisingly, for an 80 proof, the lines on the glass are really kind of cool. I was really remembering lighter lines, but this particular one is also has pretty decent legs. Okay, high rye, so you're going to have some spiciness, and there's definitely a spice there. I'm kind of going to go with Christmas on this. Very Christmassy-like scent, some cinnamons, some allspice, some baking spice, maybe a few dark fruits are really starting to come through here. And I'm really getting some alcohol on this, which is surprising from an 80 proof. I wouldn't expect as much alcohol to come through on the smell with an 80 proofer as we have here with this. It's certainly there, though. So we lead with some baking spice that we picked up on the nose and the cinnamon. There's some hints of that customary vanilla that kind of pops into just about every pour. The thing that really gets me about this, though, is its mouthfeel is incredibly thin. It's very similar in consistency to water. So that there's not a lot holding this together on my palate. It runs off very, very quickly and just seems to have a lack of depth of character, for a better word here. I like my bourbons to linger a little bit longer and really give me some great flavors. This has a good flavor, but it just doesn't deliver on the back end. It doesn't deliver in the long run. And that's the finish. It's very soft, it's very light, and very short. We're talking a matter of 3 seconds or so, and the finish was pretty well gone. Yeah, about 3 seconds, and it was gone. There's some oakiness present. I'm also getting some sweet corn there at the very end. Starting to pick up that sweet corn taste at the very end of that. So my takeaway on Basil Hayden's. First of all, this is a great, easy drinking bourbon. And at 80 proof, you can knock this back a few times and not get too schnookered. It's just not going to have an effect like drinking some of the other higher proof whiskeys are going to have. I think Beam is both correct and incorrect with their positioning of this product. First of all, it is a great entry bourbon for the bourbon neophyte. For those people just getting into it, this is a good first sip of bourbon. Kind of lets them have a little bit of that bourbon experience, but it doesn't hit them with a lot of flavors. It doesn't hit them with a lot of spiciness. It doesn't hit them with a lot of proof. And that translates to burn. So I think they're right in that respect. On the other hand, the price point on this is completely and totally wrong. My opinion only. This goes for about $40 a bottle, and I think that makes this way too expensive for those bourbon neophytes. At best, this should be a $30 bottle all day long. I've had this argument with several of you already. Personally, I think it should probably be a $25 bottle all day long. And I've owned several bottles of Basil Hayden. I like it. It's good. But I often find that I don't drink it very often. What I do find is I keep a bottle for friends, for family who come over who want to try bourbon, but they don't want it to hurt. And not that I think that some of the others hurt, it's just in their perception, the higher proofs are going to hurt more than this easy drinking Basil Hayden. So I kind of keep it around for them in most cases. So Karl rating on Basil Hayden. I like it. I don't love it. I'm going to give it 4 stars simply because it's a solid bourbon. It lacks depth, though, for me, and I think the price point is completely off. Don't get me wrong. I'll finish the glass and enjoy. But it's a good bourbon, but it really lacks a lot of depth for me. What I have found good about a bottle of Basil Hayden, this is a great bottle to take to a party when other people may try to get your stuff. And no one minds sharing a bottle of bourbon, but this is one that you can sip on throughout the entire night. You don't get stupid. You don't get wasted. You're not embarrassing yourself in front of friends or coworkers. This is just a good, easy sipper all night. So I think it has its place. So don't get me wrong. But I'm just going to give it 4 stars. It probably should be a 3.75, but I'm going to go 4 just because it's so easy to drink. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Happy Pours tonight with our friend Basil Hayden and a product of Jim Beam. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday. As always, stay safe, peace, and happy pours to you.